Beyond the Gates spoilers tease that the tension begins not with betrayal, but with a promise. When Izaiah first arrived in Fairmont Crest, his intentions were simple: to rebuild. He had lost money, trust, and a piece of himself in a city that thrived on illusions. But the illusion that hurt most wore the name Haley. She wasn't just a con artiste, she was a dream sculpted perfectly to fit into every crack of his loneliness. He believed in her. He built her a world out of faith and foolish hope. And when she vanished, so did everything he'd worked for. Now, standing beneath the pale gold streetlights of Fairmont Crest, Izaiah carried that loss like a shadow stitched to his skin. He didn't come here looking for revenge. He came looking for closure, or so he told himself. His first impression of the town was a strange mixture of calm and deception. The gated communities looked like postcards: neat lawns, manicured hedges, and houses whispering stories of wealth too old to be questioned. When he walked into the Fairmont Lounge for the first time, the smell of aged whiskey and quiet money filled the air. That's where he met Eva. Eva wasn't the type to blend in, even in a room full of polished people. She had this self-contained calm, the kind that came from someone who had seen too much to be impressed by surface glitter. When she noticed the tired look in Izaiah's eyes, she smiled, not out of pity, but curiosity. "You're not from here," she said, setting her glass down gently. "Is it that obvious?" "You're offbeat." That made him laugh, and for the first time in months, he didn't feel like a ghost walking through his own past. They talked about nothing in particular: music, travel, the way the city seemed to sleep with one eye open. But under his easy tone, Izaiah's mind kept circling back to the same thought: she could be anywhere. Haley. The name echoed like a scar. Later that evening, when he left the lounge and walked into Uptown, he didn't expect fate to slap him so soon. The streets were alive, jazz leaking from the open doors of bars, car horns mixing with laughter. He turned a corner, and that's when he saw her. Haley. She was laughing, her hand resting lightly on the arm of an older man, Bill. Her posture was relaxed, her smile genuine. But Izaiah knew that smile. It was the one she used when she wanted someone to feel safe, right before she tore them apart. His voice escaped before he could stop it. "Haley." She froze. The sound of her name sliced through the noise like glass breaking. Bill turned, confused, his brow furrowing as he looked between them. Izaiah stepped forward, forcing a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Well, look who it is." "You two seem close." Haley's smile faltered. Bill blinked, clearly puzzled. "You know him?" Before she could answer, Izaiah laughed again, a little too sharp this time. "Oh, she knows me. All right. We've shared a few memorable business ventures." Haley's hand tightened on Bill's arm. "Bill, we should go." But Bill wasn't ready to leave. Something in Izaiah's tone scratched at his curiosity. "Wait, what's going on here?" Haley's voice softened into the same melodic cadence she always used to diffuse tension. "He's just someone I used to know." "He's angry because you stole from me," Izaiah cut in. His voice dropped lower, each word deliberate. "A lot of money. And then you disappeared. Guess I know where you've been hiding now." The street suddenly felt smaller. Haley's eyes darted around, searching for an exit that wasn't there. Bill's confusion hardened into disbelief. "What is he talking about?" "Izaiah," Haley said sharply, "you need to stop spreading lies. You couldn't handle rejection, so now you're trying to destroy my life?" The lie rolled off her tongue as naturally as breathing. Izaiah had seen this performance before, every note, every pause. But what unsettled him most was how easily Bill seemed to want to believe her. Bill crossed his arms, uneasy. "You're saying he's just making it up?" "Yes," she said quickly. "He's obsessed. He followed me for months after I refused to date him." "This is just another one of his stunts." Izaiah laughed again, shaking his head. "You're good, Haley." "Still got that same act, polished and ready." He looked at Bill, his expression softening with something like pity. "Listen, man, believe what you want." "But she cleaned me out, left me with nothing but debt and excuses." "If you're smart, you'll keep a hand on your wallet." That hit a nerve. Haley's eyes flared with a flash of panic. "You're insane," she hissed, tugging Bill's arm. "We're leaving." Izaiah didn't stop them, but his voice followed like a cold wind. "You think she's yours, but she's just passing through. Ask her what happened in Portland. Ask her about the fake investment fund." Bill turned to her, his face paling slightly. "What's he talking about?" "Lies," she said again, forcing a tremor of vulnerability into her tone. "He's dangerous. Bill, please, don't listen." They walked away, her steps quick, almost frantic. Izaiah stood there, watching them disappear into the crowd, his chest tight with a mixture of satisfaction and something close to regret. He hadn't meant to make a scene, but part of him wanted Bill to see the truth before it was too late. That night, Haley couldn't sleep. She replayed the encounter in her mind over and over again, every word from Izaiah pressing against her like a weight. Bill was quieter than usual, distracted. When she spoke, he barely responded. She could feel the walls closing in. Bill, on the other hand, tried to rationalize. Maybe Izaiah was lying. Maybe Haley really was just a victim of some obsessed man. But the doubt was there now, whispering questions he didn't want to ask. The next day, Izaiah found himself at a cafe near the harbor. He didn't expect anyone to approach him, but Eva appeared again, her curiosity intact. "You found what you were looking for," she said. He smiled faintly. "Maybe, but it didn't feel like I thought it would." "Closure never does." She sat across from him, studying his expression. "You still care about her?" He hesitated, then nodded. "I care about the person I thought she was, not the one she turned out to be." Eva stirred her coffee slowly. "People like her don't stop until they hit something harder than their lies." That line lingered in his head long after she left. Meanwhile, Haley knew her time in Fairmont Crest was running out. Her plan with her cousin Andre was almost ready. One final job, one last payday, and she'd be gone for good. Bill was supposed to be her safety net, wealthy, lonely, easy to persuade. But Isaiah's appearance had shaken her strategy. She met Andre later that evening in a dimly lit parking garage, where the shadows were thick enough to swallow guilt. "You messed up," Andre said, his voice low and irritated. "I didn't plan for him to show up," she snapped. "He's just angry. He won't stick around." Andre leaned against his car, lighting a cigarette. "You better be right. If he keeps talking, your rich boyfriend's gonna start asking questions. And questions lead to problems." "I'll handle it," she said. But the truth was, she wasn't sure she could. Bill, for all his kindness, had started to change. The quiet unease from last night had grown into suspicion. He began watching her more closely, checking phone calls, tracking small inconsistencies in her stories. Once, when she told him she was visiting her sister, he followed her. She didn't go to her sister's house. She met Andre. That's when Bill began connecting the dots. He remembered how evasive she became when he asked about her past, how her answers never quite matched. Then he remembered Isaiah's words, "Ask her about Portland." So he did. They were at dinner, a soft jazz tune playing in the background, when he casually mentioned it. "I was reading something about Portland earlier. You ever live there?" Her fork paused midair. "Once. A long time ago." "Why?" "Just curious." "I think Izaiah said something about it." Her expression froze for just a second, enough for him to see it. Then she smiled. "You're still thinking about that guy?" "Don't let him get in your head, Bill. He's obsessed." But it was too late. The seed had already taken root. Over the next few days, Bill started digging quietly. He hired a private investigator under the pretext of a business background check. What he found made his stomach turn. Multiple aliases, unregistered businesses, offshore accounts, all tied to Haley. And one name kept appearing beside hers, Andre Marlowe. The same man she claimed was just a distant cousin. The betrayal hit like a slow burn. Bill wasn't naive. He'd been through heartbreak before, but this felt different. He had given her everything: trust, affection, even parts of himself he'd sworn never to share again after his divorce from Danny. And now, it was all unraveling. That night, when Haley returned home, she found Bill sitting in the dark. "Why didn't you tell me about Andre?" he asked quietly. Her pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" "You said he was your cousin." "But the records I found your partner." "You've worked together before." For a brief moment, her composure slipped. Then she smiled, forcing a soft laugh. "You really went digging?" "Bill, that's just business stuff. Andre helped me set up a few things when I was starting out. You know how complicated finance can be." He didn't answer right away. "I trusted you." She knelt beside him, taking his hand. "And you still can." Her eyes glimmered with something close to sincerity. "Don't let one bitter man ruin what we have." But when she leaned in to kiss him, he didn't move. His eyes were empty now, like something had died inside him. Later that night, when she thought he was asleep, she whispered on the phone to Andre, "We have to move fast. He is starting to figure it out." Bill heard every word. By the next morning, his decision was made. He wasn't going to confront her not yet. He wanted to see how far she'd go. He wanted to know what the final plan really was. Meanwhile, Izaiah, now restless, couldn't shake the feeling that things were spiraling towards something dark. He ran into Eva again at the marina. She was feeding crumbs to seagulls, her gaze distant. "You still haven't left?" she said without looking at him. "Something's off," he admitted. "She's planning something big. And that man Bill, he doesn't deserve to get caught in it." Eva turned to face him. "Then stop it." He hesitated. "It's not that simple." "Maybe not. But if you walk away now, you'll be part of it." That struck him harder than he expected. That evening, Haley arranged a meeting between Bill and Andre, pretending it was a casual introduction. Bill played along, masking his suspicion behind polite smiles. Andre was charming in that dangerous, polished way that only seasoned liars mastered. But Bill noticed the glances, silent cues between them, the subtle tension. It was an act, and he was no longer the audience, he was the mark who had learned the script. When the meeting ended, Andre offered him a handshake. "Pleasure doing business, Mr. Leonard. I'm sure this partnership will be profitable for all of us." Bill's grip tightened slightly. "Oh, I'm sure it will." That night, he made a copy of every document she'd left lying around, the ones about her investment projects. He planned to bring them to his lawyer in the morning. But Haley was always one step ahead. She sensed his distance, the way he looked at her now, like someone trying to solve a puzzle. And when she noticed her papers had been moved, she knew. "Bill," she said sweetly the next morning, "how about a trip? Just the two of us. Somewhere quiet." He smiled faintly. "You read my mind." But his calmness unnerved her. She didn't know that he had already called Izaiah that morning. "I think you were right," Bill said over the phone. "She's setting me up for something. I don't know what, but I need your help." Izaiah hesitated. "You sure about this?" "Positive." And just like that, their paths split by betrayal were about to converge again, this time against the same enemy. By sunset, Haley was driving them toward a secluded cabin near the cliffs, saying it was a weekend getaway. Bill pretended to relax, nodding along, but every word she spoke sounded rehearsed. Behind them, Izaiah followed at a distance, headlights dimmed. He didn't know what waited beyond those gates of deception, but he had a feeling they were all walking straight into something far darker than a simple con. The road to the cliffs wound like a serpent, silent and cold beneath the pale shimmer of moonlight. The air outside was heavy with salt from the sea, the sound of crashing waves echoing through the distance as if the ocean itself were warning them to turn back. Haley gripped the steering wheel tighter, her knuckles whitening every time Bill looked at her for too long. He wasn't the same man she had charmed months ago. The warmth in his eyes had cooled into calculation. She could feel it. He knew something. "Still," she smiled. "You'll love this place. It's quiet, no distractions, just us." Bill's voice was steady, almost too calm. "That's exactly what I need." They drove in silence. Every few minutes, Haley's phone would buzz, a message from Andre, but she ignored it. She'd told him she would handle it. The plan was simple: isolate Bill, get him to sign the transfer documents, and disappear before dawn. But the simplicity of it didn't stop her nerves from twisting inside her like barbed wire. Andre, parked a few miles behind, wasn't as patient. He hated being sidelined. He had warned her that emotions were liabilities, and Haley had been making too many mistakes lately. Hesitations, second thoughts, small cracks in her perfect lies. He could feel the whole thing slipping. At the same time, Izaiah's car crept along the winding coastal road behind them, headlights dimmed to near invisibility. He had no clear plan, only instinct. Something about the way Haley had looked that night, cornered, desperate, told him she wouldn't go down quietly. And if Bill was in the middle of it, he needed to be there when it broke apart. The cabin stood on a cliff edge surrounded by cypress trees. Its windows were dark, its porch half buried in fog. Haley parked the car and stepped out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "It's not much," but it'll do for the weekend. Bill smiled faintly. Perfect. Inside, the cabin smelled of old wood and damp air. A single lamp flickered in the corner. Bill noticed 2 wine glasses already sitting on the table. She had been here before. That told him everything he needed to know. Haley poured the wine, her movements elegant, controlled. But her eyes betrayed her. "You're quiet," she said, just taking it all in. When she handed him the glass, he didn't drink. Instead, he set it down, watching her. "You know, I've been thinking a lot about what Izaiah said." Her body stiffened. "I told you, he wasn't lying," Bill interrupted softly. "I checked everything. The accounts, the false names, Andre's involvement. You used me." The silence that followed was deafening. Haley didn't flinch. She placed her glass down and met his gaze with practiced calm. "And what exactly do you think I did?" "Stole from me, lied to me, played me for a fool." Her lips curved into a thin smile. "If that's what you believe, then maybe you should have done your homework before falling in love." The words cut deep. Bill's jaw tightened, but he didn't move. "So it was all fake?" Haley looked at him for a long moment. "Maybe not all of it." Her tone softened just enough to sound real. "I liked you, Bill. You made me almost forget who I was." Before he could respond, there was a noise outside, the crunch of gravel under tires. Haley's head snapped toward the door. "Expecting someone?" Bill asked quietly. She didn't answer. Andre entered without knocking, his expression a mixture of irritation and control. "You were supposed to call when it was done," he said. His eyes moved to Bill, then back to Haley. "Guess we're doing this the hard way." Bill stood, his voice calm. "You must be Andre." Andre smirked. "The man who's about to clean up a mess that should have been finished hours ago." Haley shot him a warning look. "I said I had it under control." "You never do," Andre muttered, pulling a small pistol from his jacket. Bill froze. "What the hell is this?" "Insurance," Andre said flatly. "You weren't supposed to know about any of this." "But since you do." The door burst open. Izaiah stepped in, his own gun raised, eyes locked on Andre. "Drop it." For a second, no one breathed. The air in the cabin crackled with tension, every heartbeat loud enough to feel. Andre tilted his head. "You again. You just don't know when to quit, do you?" "I told you to stay away from him," Izaiah said, moving closer. "Whatever you're planning ends now." Haley's gaze darted between them, panic flickering beneath her calm facade. "Izaiah, stay out of this." He looked at her, his voice breaking slightly. "You really can't help yourself, can you?" "Put the gun down," she said. "You don't understand." "I understand enough," Izaiah replied. "I lost everything because of you, and now you're about to ruin someone else's life." Andre moved suddenly, aiming his gun toward Bill. "You want to stop me? Fine. Let's see how fast you are." The sound of the gunshot shattered the stillness. The lamp exploded. Haley screamed. When the smoke cleared, Bill was on the floor, clutching his shoulder, blood spreading across his shirt. Izaiah fired back. Andre stumbled, hit in the arm, the pistol clattering to the floor. Haley ran to Bill's side, pressing her hands against the wound, her breath trembling. "You weren't supposed to get hurt." "I didn't want." Bill looked up at her, his voice faint but steady. "You already did." Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have heard the shots. Andre cursed, clutching his bleeding arm as he stumbled toward the back door. "You think this is over?" "You don't know me," he snarled, disappearing into the night. Haley turned to Izaiah, her eyes wild. "Help me get him to the car." But Izaiah just stared at her. "You're still lying, even now." "Please," she begged. "He's going to die." He hesitated, then moved to help. Together they lifted Bill, carried him outside into the cold air. The waves below roared like thunder as they laid him in the back seat of the car. Bill's breathing was shallow. His eyes flicked between them. "Why?" he whispered. Haley couldn't answer. When the police arrived minutes later, the scene was chaos. Broken glass, blood, gunfire residue. Izaiah stayed behind while Haley drove Bill toward the nearest hospital. She ran red lights, screamed at passing cars, did everything she could to keep him conscious. "You'll be fine," she said, voice cracking. "Just hold on." But Bill could hear the guilt buried in her tone. "You could have told me the truth." "I wanted to," she whispered. "I just didn't know how." His eyes fluttered closed. When the doctors finally took him in, she stood in the waiting room alone, blood drying on her hands. For the first time in years, She didn't have a plan. Izaiah arrived an hour later, escorted by an officer who'd let him go after questioning. He looked at her silently. "They said he's in surgery?" she murmured. He nodded. "You should leave. When he wakes up, he's going to tell them everything." "I'm not leaving him." Isaiah's voice hardened. "You don't get to play the victim now. You set this in motion. Andre's still out there, and he's not done. If you stay, you'll drag him down again." Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't move. "You don't understand. I never meant for any of this to happen." He almost laughed. "You always say that." Then he turned and walked away. Outside, the storm hit full force, rain slamming against the pavement, thunder shaking the sky. Haley stood by the hospital window, staring out into the darkness. Somewhere out there, Andre was bleeding and furious, and she knew what that meant. He wouldn't run. He'd come back to finish what he started. 2 nights later, Izaiah found himself in the same hospital parking lot, unable to leave town. Something kept him tethered, a sense of unfinished business, maybe guilt. He saw Haley sitting on a bench near the entrance, her hair soaked from the rain. "He made it," she said quietly when she saw him. "The bullet missed his lung." "That's good. I told the police everything." He frowned. "Everything?" "Almost." Her confession wasn't redemption, but it was something. Izaiah sat beside her. "Andre's still missing. You know he's going to come for you." "I know." He studied her face, the exhaustion etched deep into her features. "You could disappear again." "I'm done running." For the first time, he believed her. That belief lasted until dawn, when the hospital's power went out for 10 seconds, just long enough for a single shadow to slip past security cameras. Andre was back. He moved like a phantom through the corridors, bandaged arm pressed against his side, a pistol in his other hand. His eyes burned with fury and betrayal. He had trusted Haley, believed she was in control, but she had chosen weakness. He found her outside Bill's room. "Did you really think you could sell me out?" he hissed. Her breath caught. "Andre, stop." "It's over." "No," he said, stepping closer. "It's never over." The gun rose. Then another voice cut through the silence. "Drop it." Izaiah stood at the end of the hall, his gun steady, his eyes cold. "You've got nowhere left to go." Andre sneered. "You don't have the guts." "Try me." For a tense moment, no one moved. Then Bill's voice came weakly from the hospital bed. "Don't." Haley turned. He was awake, his face pale but his gaze sharp. "He's not worth it," Bill said to Izaiah. The distraction was enough. Andre lunged, grabbing Haley by the arm and dragging her toward the stairwell. Izaiah fired, the shot echoing down the corridor. Andre staggered, the gun clattering from his hand, and both of them crashed to the floor. When it was over, Haley sat trembling beside Andre's still body. Her hands shook as she whispered something no one could hear. Maybe a prayer, maybe an apology. Police swarmed the hallway. Izaiah lowered his weapon, exhaustion replacing anger. Bill watched from his bed, his expression unreadable. In the days that followed, the story spread through Fairmont Crest like wildfire. The con woman, the businessman, the man she'd betrayed who came back to save them both. Bill recovered slowly. When the hospital finally discharged him, Haley was already gone. No one knew where she went. Some said she fled overseas, others claimed she turned herself in under a new name. But Izaiah knew better. She was out there somewhere, trying once again to rewrite her story. As for Bill, he stood one evening at the edge of the same cliffs where everything had fallen apart, the wind howling around him. He thought of Danny, of how he had traded real love for an illusion. Maybe he'd try to fix that one day. Maybe not. He looked toward the horizon, where the sea met the sky in a blur of gray, and for the first time in months, he felt something like peace. Far away, in another city, Haley watched the same ocean from a different shore, the sound of waves drowning out the noise of her past. She had no money left, no allies, no promises. But she was alive, and for her, that was enough. Somewhere deep down, she wondered if she'd ever see Bill again. Not to lie to him, not to steal, just to say the words she'd never said, "I'm sorry." And Izaiah, driving away from Fairmont Crest for the last time, couldn't help but think that maybe none of them had truly escaped. They were all still trapped behind invisible gates of their own making, gates built from guilt, regret, and the impossible hope of redemption. He didn't look back. The sound of the ocean faded behind him as dawn broke over the horizon, and the long, painful game that began with betrayal finally ended not with victory, not with vengeance, but with silence.